frankly, Veterans Today has become almost too powerful, but we're keeping it as an open forum. People are responsible for what they believe. We keep the quality up. That we have influences only because the mainstream media has angered too many people. And we are working as hard as we can. At some point, we may have to go to a pay service because it is eating away the lives. We have a staff, we have 5 full-time staff just running IT alone. You know, VT is part of 62 websites within the network. But Veterans Today is a very, very big staff. We work together. It's a huge news organization. And what we've developed, we're a huge private intelligence organization. We're actually being requested to break off part of Veterans Today, take it over to a Davis Corporation, and operate it the way Stratfor and Deb could do. Because VT's intelligence organization may be better than the CIA. We get better information. The thing about us is that we don't, unlike these other people, we don't hate the United States. Even those of us who aren't Americans don't hate the United States.
Well,
this is still my country.
More people are leaving. People are leaving every day. I just talked with David Von Kleist, David Riddell, who expatriated to Argentina and ran into more problems down there than he admitted that he had here. So it's I believe that our founding fathers did something that pretty unique in founding this country. They gave us our Bill of Rights, and that's really all we need to organize under is that Bill of Rights. Again, I've said 12 men could, if we just had the 12 men to do a grand jury and present the evidence that you and I have that's available on the internet, you know, the whole Israeli involvement, 9/11 included. If we put that before a grand jury, it seems like we could indict a lot of people for treason, for misappropriation of funds, and we could start doing what Iceland did. What you never hear about in our media, Iceland bailed the people out and arrested the bankers. Is that accurate?
It's a model for what you're absolutely right. It's a perfect model for what we need to do. You know, we've got the Federal Reserve Charter coming up here in December. The Federal Reserve absolutely has to go. P.K. Durham and Lee Wanta have been very busy of late. For those people who don't know P.K. Durham and Lee Wanta, you and I aren't young, but these are older people to us, you know, because we're both in our 60s, mind you. These are people who are in their 70s. If you're older than Clay and I and you're still walking around, you're pretty lucky.
All right, now let me stop you for just a second here, because this is really important. I have you on here saying this. I just had Grandma, I call her Grandma, that's her B.K. Durham, potentially the wealthiest woman in the world, who paid off the debt of the United States, but didn't get credit for it, paid off the debt of the United States in 1971, I believe it was, Gordon. Now, this is my friend. She's been on the show, and these shows are all archived on freeamerican.com, on blogtalkradio.com. You can hear V.K. Durham. This is a woman that sat down with Roosevelt that knew all of these people. And Gordon Duff here is telling you that I blew the whistle on Michael Harari. I blew the whistle on Michael Harari and this Bush crime family back in 25 years ago when I ran the story of Operation Watchtower in my motorcycle magazine. Now, Gordon, now, yesterday I had somebody in the chat room say, well, I just find it hard to believe that our government, with the technology they got and the resources they got, can't kill somebody living in an RV, living in their mother's basement or something. And if it was our government, I'd say they probably, they might have a point, but what we have is a foreign government, and I've been pointing this and telling people we're in a war. I've been doing that for 25 years, and if you can't identify who your enemy is, if you can't identify who's making all the money, where's all this money going? We spent $1 billion on electing a president last year, and where'd that money go? You Republicans and you brain-dead Republicans and you good-hearted Democrats, you sent all this money to all these Republican and Democratic candidates, and they gave the money to the bankers. So you only got to vote for who you heard about. I find a little problem with that, Gordon, and that's what I think the power of veterans today is, and the power of my show.
We don't have a national debt in the U.S. And oddly enough, do you know that the U.S. runs a surplus every month now?
Okay, yes, your comprehensive financial report shows that every county, every state is making money over hand and fist, but it ain't going to the people.
What simply isn't working out for the United States anymore is our government. I'm sorry, I don't want the big military anymore. I'm a military guy. You're a military guy. I don't want to pay for any more foreign wars. I don't want Americans out fighting for narcotics. I don't want Americans out fighting for oil companies. I don't want any more Americans to come back damaged. I don't want to see American soldiers kill themselves. I don't want to see American soldiers stand on the side of the road. I don't want to, with signs. I will work for food. I don't want to see this anymore. I'm done with this. We have destroyed enough generations. But my generation was destroyed in Vietnam.
Again, I didn't go to Vietnam. And I started a whole business around selling peace symbols to Kmart and 7-Elevens. I helped start that movement. I helped start the whole war on victimless crimes. I helped start the normal. I've helped start High Times. I was the first distributor for High Times, Gordon, and the books I wrote 45 years ago are happening now. I divided the country into separate states and wrote about what they would be like in this side of the border if we abolished all the laws against victimless crimes, put the bankers in jail. And in these states, they operate the same way with the whole military prison industrial complex. We got prisoners working for slave labor here that, had crime having a joint in their pocket?
This idea that this is a prison nation. We only have 2 million people in prison, between prisons, jails, low-jack ankle braces, probation, parole. We have 15 million people, and it's not just this. We have a crooked, certainly law enforcement system. We have created a set of interconnected Israeli-trained, militarized police forces that are an army of occupation that threatens the American people. The American people, if any reason, they need to be armed, and this is what's so sad about this, is that Americans are armed to fight their own police force. I'm an ex-cop. I know police. I have friends who are police. Police don't want to threaten the people of the United States. I don't like what police departments do. Anyone I think above the rank of sergeant in the police department is suspect. You know, the guys out in the cars, they're largely they're us. Increasingly, many of them are veterans.
Yes.
You know,
I've had. Let me stop you for a moment because I've had J.B. Campbell on my show. J.B. started the militias. J.B. very vocal. He says he talks about time to shoot them. You know, I mean, as Alexander Solzhenitsyn said, you know, how we burned in the camps, thinking if we'd just fought back, if we'd just taken machetes or pitchforks to these people when they came to arrest us, maybe we wouldn't be sitting in these camps. And J.B. Campbell's made a statement on that, but the owner of the station, who is doing the right thing by putting this kind of programming on and by not taking advertising, allowing this to be supported by the people, he's doing the right thing. And his wife was a sheriff. Well, his wife was a cop. He got pretty upset about that, and I don't blame him. I don't blame him for doing that. It's not, I have never, in this 25 years of doing radio, I'm not telling anybody to take up arms and kill anybody. The police should be working with us. And if our ideas about freedom and liberty are strong enough and are based on the whole foundation of this country, the Bill of Rights, the police ought to be working with us. I've walked into the FBI office, set a bundle of magazines down with you know, stories in there about Dov Zakheim, and this is right after they passed the anti-terrorism bill, right, 1959 or something like that. I said, I just brought the magazines in. We got one for every officer here in the FBI in Albuquerque. I just wanted you to know who I was. And they said, oh, we know who you are, Clay. And they took the magazines, and I walked out. So much for right-wing extremists being threatened by the FBI. I went in there and walked out.
I work as a defense contractor, and part of what we do is train law enforcement people. My people who do that are retired, very senior FBI. They've been friends of mine forever. I do nothing but work around FBI people. I do it all day long. Now, one of the problems I had, you know, we were talking about this veterans housing thing.
Yes.
I went to my friends, retired FBI, brought them evidence, and that's testimony from VA police, VA accounting officials, that millions were being stolen from the VA, lab fees, varying forms of theft, basic, ordinary crimes, just simple fraud and corruption by high-level VA officials. Had them deliver the evidence, including, this is offered testimony from serving VA police who felt a need to go to the FBI. The FBI refused to meet with VA police to discuss crimes committed by VA officials who are close to Congressman Henry Waxman. The FBI is terrified of Henry Waxman.
Why? I mean, if the the FBI, they ain't been behaving properly. I mean, shooting people before they even get to trial, accusing them of terrorism and then shooting them. That ain't exactly.
Oh, you and I know what went on in Boston. This Boston thing, Boston, Sandy Hook, 9/11, all of this utterly despicable.
And you know, I really believe that the police out there, I mean, everyone I see, I give them a card. Here, listen to my show. Listen to my show. I don't want us to be on the other side. I think the whole media circus around the Occupy Wall Street thing was that was almost as much of a charade as as Boston, as the marathon bombing. They and what do you remember from Occupy Wall Street? Some guy taking a shit on a police car. I mean, this they trying to set us against the police. Go ahead.
When the banks in New York hired off-duty New York police officers to go after demonstrators, that was one of the biggest threats that our form of government has ever had. We can't even begin to talk about defending the Constitution because I don't see anything left. We've created a government here where, in order to stay in power, members of Congress have become, let's say, amenable to anything. It runs on money, their beliefs, they fool themselves into saying, I've got to stay in office. One of the things I just want to bring up on my own politically.
Okay.
A straw poll was run during the last presidential election, and I was running a straw poll against Obama and Romney. I beat Romney. Of course, now he admits he never wanted to be president.
Takes too much time out of the drug business. I mean, Romney Clear Channel runs. Clear Channel's staff, the people Romney appointed were Israeli Mossad.
Oh, absolutely. And, I don't hate Romney as an individual. And this is a tough thing here. I look at Rupert Murdoch right now, and I look at his divorce he's going through with, Wendy the Dragon Lady. And I'm sorry to see what they're going through because the political enemies we have, whether it's Murdoch or Netanyahu. Now, at Adamus Corporation, my chief of staff has been a lifelong friend of Netanyahu's. Now, politically, Netanyahu, he's personally threatened me. Doesn't do a lot of good. I work with Israeli companies. I have no problem with that. I have no problem with Israelis or working with Israeli companies. I'm on Skype right here now with an Israeli defense company planning a meeting while I'm doing this, which is, by the way, taking some of my attention because it involves, why are we working together? I work with the Israelis because they show up for work, their quality of work is good, their products work. And the people I've known for years. Why will I work with them? I have to do this in order to keep, I help run a corporation. My responsibility is to keep the bills paid. I answer to stockholders, I answer to a board of directors, which I happen to sit on, but I have people who have to get paid. They have jobs, they have families. And at this age, this time in life, I really didn't want to have to deal with any of this.
Well, now let me stop you right there. One of the things that I get here a lot, well, you're a hater, I don't hate anybody. I really don't. I care about this country, and if somebody is a dual citizen and they're stealing our money and shipping it to Israel, I want to talk to them. But do I believe that all Jews are bad because they were born Jewish because some of their grandmother slept with a Jew? I don't believe that at all. I believe that free will, and we can choose to be good or evil here. We can choose to be good or evil, Gordon.
Well, I spent a couple hours yesterday communicating with a journalist, an investigative journalist, who's a specialist on the areas of the Caucasus, and we were looking into WMD's actions of Israelis. Now, the individual I'm dealing with is a Jew. His name is so Jewish that he could have been a character on Seinfeld. But his positions clearly work hard to expose things that Israel has done. Clearly. But inside Israel, how can we criticize Israelis when Americans have done so much wrong themselves? And then, of course, and this is something we're always reminded of, Every time I talk about them stealing land from the Palestinians, I can go out in my garden and dig up arrowheads. So, you know, we put a price on this. You know, a lot of codicils on our morality. You know, if it was stolen then, it's okay if you stole it later.
Gordon, I have one of the things that I'm writing about right now, and I'm going to submit this to Veterans Today later on today or possibly tomorrow. I'm talking about the recreation of Liberty Villages. And one of the, after studying all types of structures, my basic concept was restore a family farm using veterans to protect the place. Low-cost housing. I looked at Camco cabins. I looked at teepees and yurts. All functional, all operating up in cold country, up in Red River, New Mexico. And I felt that we kind of took a wrong direction. We took somewhere along the line, we went in the wrong direction. We should have followed the Indians' lifestyle rather than importing the European box houses. And this is one of the things that Southern Poverty Law is attacking me about, because I'm proposing re-energizing the self-sufficient family farm. And I wanted to do it with teepees. I figured somebody driving down the road, see 10 teepees and a vacancy sign, would come in to have a cup of coffee and see what the hell was going on. That was my plan when I had land. It's still a good plan. I just don't have the land. But the Indians, we owe. I mean, there was nothing wrong with the Indians' lifestyle, you know. Just wasn't, I don't believe.
Well, this is you know, this is a tough one, dealing with relocating veterans, because you can't move people into rural areas because they can. Well, if you can sustain someone, and this is one of the things that Dean Henderson was writing about, if you can teach people to sustain a life in a rural environment, to live off the land, raise their own cattle, perhaps not raise marijuana, by the way. Veterans, I just assume keep them out of any kind of touch with the law at all here, you know, but...
I'm thinking about moving to Colorado.
There is a new lifestyle I think we need to look at, where Americans can get 5 acres and plant a 1 acre or more garden, and you know, raise animals and learn to work on their own as free of government and taxes as possible.
Okay, wait a minute. I have to stop you for a moment, because I think you just made my commercial here. The concept that my Liberty Villages has evolved into is that all of these neighborhoods and all of these towns all across the country, and especially in the small towns, those were already the Liberty Villages. We conquered this whole country with little towns with the farms on the outskirts. Not a bad system until we got the 1913 and the Federal Reserve got in with the 5th plank on the Communist Manifesto, and then they immediately started instituting the 9th plank on the Communist Manifesto, which is corporate farms. So they've gone after the farmers first, they go after the intelligence index, and they go after the veterans third. That's the veterans and police that are loyal to the old regime. Now, this whole Liberty Village concept, I thought, why don't we bring the country back to the city? All these neighborhoods were built on farmland. They were built on grazing land. And we've got one, I've got it up on my libertyvillage.org website. I've got one film from a family in Pasadena, California, that converted their backyard into a 1/10 acre farm, and they put out 4,000 pounds of food. Now, if you can grow your own food in your backyard and put solar on your roof, how much does it cost to make a solar panel? We put that on your roof.
This is exactly what I was going over with Dean Henderson. And it's a tough one for me because I'm used to wanting to return people to a city lifestyle, to an industrial lifestyle, to working at Home Depot, and one of the issues we have, this is a tough one, is all of our long-term veterans, male or female, are divorced. All of them have child support, all of these things. This is something we have a lot of difficulty with here. So we have all of these, we have a second generation, we've got kids, we have to rebuild families. But yes, you're absolutely right. This city lifestyle, I look at every couple of days, I spend $200 getting something in my house fixed, or doing something. Money that most Americans go by the defense company. Where do you get it from? How do you live in a house and have 3 cars and whatever? Or 1 car, or insurance, or keep it running, or keep a transmission in it. How do you do this? And this is another talk I had about the minimum wage. The only way we can keep jobs from going overseas and everything from being made overseas is make people pay a $16 an hour minimum wage so that every American works, and then, heaven forbid, when somebody's getting paid $16, make them earn it. You know, back when I was in a grocery store when I was in high school for union pay. I made what an auto worker did, but it was union. And I had to work hard. It was hard physical labor, certainly. You put me on a cash register. I memorized the price of everything. You'd have to run in line. You will see this occasionally. There are always store and some others. But mostly the expectations aren't there for hard work. Americans were always hard workers. I want us to go back to hard work again.
If we kind of do exactly what you're talking about, where we become productive. We start. What can you make in your garage? Or what can you do? I've always made a living like buying and selling, making stuff. I made ceramics. I've sold ceramics. I've always done that, and I've done it out of my garage a lot of times. Why can't we do that again? Why can't we make Americans think on being productive? Why can't we have neighborhoods seeing who can grow the most food? Now, to me, that's a kind of a redirection in our thinking, but it kind of solves the problem of how do we fight evil without becoming evil. I don't want to go out killing nobody. I want us working together. Don't care what religion you are. You know, if it's good for you and you're next door to me, then it ought to be good for me. To me, that's a Liberty Village concept. That's what we need to do. And I think in Oklahoma they have the Oklahoma Food Co-op, and they're putting farmers together with the people in Sydney, so the farmers can sell their goods direct without anybody in the middle. Do you mean then? What about that? Go ahead.
And see, this is an area where I've been way behind. That I have been failing to recognize how toxic the cities we've built are.
How about the food you're being fed? How about the food you're being fed, the genetically modified crap, and wash it down with a little bit of fluoride? I mean, that's our cities right there. And my idea of a co-op, everybody in the co-op would know about where to get the best price on the best water filter to filter out radiation, and fluoride and aluminum. I mean, we can be healthy. This whole, we can't step out of this whole military war making. Banksters fund both sides of a war, don't they, Gordon?
What it is that America is a big farm. The problem is we're the cattle.
Right.
We used to be the farmers. We're now the cattle. That's what's going on here. If you're living in a city, for sure, you're cattle. And we don't have the mindset, and I'm as guilty as anyone else, of not having the mindset for breaking free. And I probably have the resources to do this. And I'm imprisoned in a lifestyle of of work, of property here, of jobs, of living near kids or whatever, or I feel that I've imprisoned myself. That's the point. That breaking free has to happen inside your own mind. This is what the 1960s were about, and this is what, well, J.B. Campbell, but it's not just Campbell, it's many others, and we have more and more of these people as veterans today. And what they're saying and what you're saying is absolutely vital. And if anything, I've largely been part of the problem. I was educated to be a part of this, to live in the world of banking and corporations and government. I worked for the UN. I worked in banking for some time, and I made a lot of money, and it brought me nothing but heartache. Nothing.
Well, I'm kind of glad that you got to do all that, because I couldn't do it. I mean, I haven't called myself a free American for 25 years for nothing. I can't work in that system, but I've always made a living. I've always earned money, and
I assure you, 10 years of formal education wasn't free. It was a lot of work. I worked continually through school. I have to admit, school used to be cheap. Kids going to school now paying up to $400 and more a credit hour. I was at Michigan State University at one point for $10 a credit hour. I was living in a rented room for $60 a month in a house that was 115 years old. And I was living on, a can of beef macaroni a day.
Well, Gordon, let me. We got a very short time left here. We'll hear the music coming up, and I want to tell you that I tried to address that problem with these schools by starting a Little Red Schoolhouse and Timothy Bible College, where you can get your master's degree over the internet from the comfort of your home garden. Hey, I had to put that in. And if you want to support the show, folks, it's freeamerican.com. You can go to shop.freeamerican.com, and you can read a lot about what we've done and the books that are available. And the Veterans Today is Link Gordon Duff. Thank you for being with me. I really appreciate your insight. And I think it's the veterans that are going to make the difference in this country. We've already been targeted, and I'm not telling you to go out and kill nobody, folks. I'm telling you to build something, to work with your neighbors, get to know your neighbors, and let them know about this show, about Veterans Today, where we can get real information out. The biggest enemy is the media-controlled companies that are funded by the bankers. Have I got that accurate, Gordon?
Yeah, absolutely. You've been on fire today, Clay.
Yeah, well, if the internet would keep up with me, and I can read faster than the internet can scroll, so if they could keep up with me, I'd be all right. But I get my connection to keep up. Gordon Duff, I've had a request by somebody to have you on an evening show sometime this week.
Well, I'll tell you, we would do one heck of a lot better if we could get these communication problems taken care of. It's a lot of stress for you.
Well,
and
for $100 donation, folks, I can get Time Warner to bring cable into here and get 20 meg speed on the computers. Now, if the computers, I think I've got them probably protected and all that. But if you're hearing this show, man, it worked. We got it out. And we'll keep trying. I'll keep improving. If we get some funds coming in here to help get this Liberty Village co-op started, what that'll mean is that you can buy a can of coffee for cost plus 10, wholesale plus 10, and you can put your produce up here, and arrange to meet your producers, whether it's in their backyard or whether it's in a farm out just on the outskirts of town. Do it in the at the county courthouse. I'd say that'd probably be a good place to support your family farms. Again, hey, Gordon Duff, thank you. God bless you. I'll see if I can get a hold of Jim to get this all out. Thank you, sir. Bye-bye now.
Bye.